player versus environment, also known as PVE, is not speculation. It is something that is confirmed to be coming in Flesh and Blood. Not only that, but creator of Flesh and Blood and CEO of Legend Story Studios, James White, has gone on record saying in their FAB 2.0 announcement that PVE, or player versus environment, will be the flagship social, kind of casual product for Flesh and Blood. How's it going, Rogues Gallery? And today we're going to talk all about player versus environment and share with you how this might manifest. And I do have an example to share with everyone. It's actually super, super cool. It's a totally, completely fleshed out player versus environment campaign with like a mini boss and a boss and like maps and stuff. It's really awesome. We'll talk about that when the time comes. We're going to go to a top down. We're going to show off everything. A community member sent it to me. We're going to give them a big shout out as well. But before we do that, hey, maybe check out redzonerogue.com. We have playmats. We have sleeves for all aspects of your gaming needs. So what I mean by that is we have like anime stuff. We have Flesh and Blood style stuff. I kind of want to have something for everyone who watches Red Zone Rogue. We're also going to have some really, really cool Warhammer things in the future because I've really gotten into Warhammer 40k. So stay tuned for that, all on redzonerogue.com. We have shirts as well. That's one of the best ways to support the channel. Or you could also go down below and sign up for the channel memberships. That's a great way to support me. We also have the Patreon. So if you like what I do and you want me to keep doing what I'm doing and you would like to support, I have many avenues of support. So let's talk about PVE. First of all, let's kind of go over what James White has officially written about it, so we have a basis for our speculation and for what we might have in the future. So here on the FAB 2.0 article, it says player versus environment PVE will be our flagship social play product. It will see players band together in campaign settings that can be as long or as short as your party wants. It is not about winning or losing, but having an epic adventure with friends, fellow gamers, where swords, shields, pizza, and beers collide. It sounds like an absolute blast, and I could not be more excited for it. This sounds so my jam. I really just want to play with my friends, and we're probably going to do some content on it. I'm super stoked for that. We are putting a lot into PvE, and our expectation, along with that of many eagerly awaiting fans, is very high. PvE is currently under development, and we are working hard to make it as good as possible. More information will be announced in the future. Now, James has also gone on record in another podcast. It might be the Instant Speed podcast, it might be somewhere else, where they said PvE is coming no earlier than like mid 2023, something like that. I believe it's around there, right? It's not coming to at least 2023, probably like mid 2023. So, and that's just kind of like the earliest. So what forms could this player versus environment kind of thing take? I'd be willing to bet it's going to be some sort of box set product that you purchase and you can have fun with friends. I kind of really hope that they do campaign setting box set products. So like, say it's like, adventures into the Savage Lands, and that'll be like, an adventure set in the Savage Lands, or like, delving into the Demonastery, and then there's like an adventure in the Demonastery, or like saving Solana, and it's like, adventurers banding together to take back Solana. Something like that. I think that would be awesome. Not only is it a great way to have an awesome cooperative experience with friends, it's also a great way to flesh out the world and the lore of Wraith and Flesh and Blood. Just absolutely perfect. I think it's going to be a slam dunk. I love cooperative gameplay experiences, especially for tabletop games. You have like, it's great battling against someone, but what's even better? Having a blast with your friends and sharing in a victory together. So much fun. That's why I love Arkham Horror, the card game, and other cooperative card games as well. So I think this is going to be a slam dunk. I think this is going to be Flesh and Blood's Commander without copying Commander, right? We already have Ultimate Pit Fight. Ultimate Pit Fight is a multiplayer format that was designed by people who don't even play Magic, so it's not really like Commander, it's just a multiplayer format. But I think this PvE thing is going to be fairly unique in the trading card game space. We already have LCGs that do this, but for trading card games, there's not really any trading card game that does this, so I think it's going to be awesome. And I cannot wait for it. I really do expect it to be in like these kind of box sets. You just buy the product and be able to play with it. Hopefully there's like, they make cards specifically for your decks for PVE only, right? So you can like, they're like, you know, flavored cards for the PVE decks that you build or whatever. So yeah, that's what I'm expecting. You can bet that we're going to be doing some content here in Red Zone Rogue. I would love to do it with my fellow Living Legend podcast guys, as well as, well, maybe, no, we'll elevate them with our UPF team. Let's get DM Armada in here and we'll play some PVE and it's going to be awesome. Just a bunch of excellent friends playing some excellent, you know, games. So with that said, let's get on to actually showing off an example of something that this could manifest as, because Teklo Crow has sent me a PVE prototype, basically, that they made themselves. And it's really awesome. Like, it's fully fleshed out with art and everything, and it's cool. So without further ado, let's go to the top down, and I'm gonna show all of this stuff off. Let's do it. And of course, here we have our lovely Red Zone Rogue Katako's Library mat that you can get on the store that I talked about at the beginning of the video. Yeah, anyway, let's check this out. We're gonna read this little note. There's no, like, you know, personal information in here, but it's a very nice note, and I wanna give a shout out to Crow, also known as Teklo Crow, for sending this to me. It just says, Dear Mr. Rogue, thank you very much for creating content on a variety of games, but especially Flesh and Blood. You're welcome. I love it. I love what I do so much. You were one of the first channels that I had the pleasure to find, and I keep enjoying your videos to this day. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who watches these videos. I appreciate it more than you know. I had the hope of meeting you at the U.S. Nationals this year, but when I saw you were not on the broadcast team, I had the feeling that I would not see you there. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. I did not get asked to do U.S. Nats, and because of that, I couldn't go. It's just too expensive to go to all these events and not play in the events or, you know, work them. So I couldn't make it. So instead of giving this gift to you in person, I decided to mail it to you. With this letter, you will find a 2 set of FAB PVE cards that I've been working on for a while, because I know you are someone who enjoys playing the game in different ways. Yes, I do. I love Flesh and Blood. I love all aspects of Flesh and Blood. I hope you can use it at least as a paperweight. Yeah, no, we're gonna show it off. This is super cool. You don't have to mention it to anyone. It's just to express my gratitude to the hours of content you've made, and to share with you something that I'm excited about. Again, thank you for everything, Crow. You're very welcome, and thank you for sending this to me. It was very kind of you, and I think it's really cool. So let's open this up. We're gonna check it out. And we're not going to read literally everything, but we're going to kind of get the gist of it, because I think it's a great example of how PvE could manifest in Flesh and Blood. So it has a prologue, it has an epilogue, we have maps, which are really cool. We have some like custom items and a bunch of enemies to fight. This is basically themed around a necromancer fighting against a powerful wizard in their dungeon. So it's kind of a classic thing here. I'm not gonna read the whole story here. You can kind of go into it. You can pause it here. I think the fidelity of the camera is good enough. But basically, yeah, it's like this wizard who becomes a necromancer, and your party has to go delve into their dungeon to defeat them. This is the Necromancer, Adnar of the Eternal Pact, 45 health. He's a shadow wizard villain with 5 intellect. And he has once per turn instant for 3 resources. Destroy an undead ally, prevent all damage from one source this turn. And then once per turn action, banish a card from your hand, create X skeletal servant tokens, where X is the cost of the banished card plus the number of heroes. So it kind of scales up. But you don't immediately fight this dude. He has his own deck here. It's his own wizard deck, you know, themed around him, and this Necronomar, which is kind of like a Necronomicon, but it's a grimoire instead of a, you know, lexicon. Necronomar, which gives him the knowledge of necromancy, which lets him cast all these necromantic spells. We'll get to this bit in just a second, but I kind of want to get to like the dungeon part, which I think is super cool. Here's also the epilogue that you read after you beat the boss. So prologue, epilogue, they did kind of make it into like a story thing, which I think is pretty cool. So here is the actual dungeon, which I think is super, super cool. There's multiple different rooms, and I assume you can branch out from here, choose which path you go, and you read it as you go, kind of like a D&D session here. Once again, we're not going to read it here, but there's a bunch of flavor, and the rooms do specific things. So this first room, nothing really happens, right? But say you start here, and then you go on to this room, and it says your path takes you to a hall where once grandiose banquets were held and many tales were told. Now the destroyed furniture is only rubble by the dead, or rumbled by the dead. Encounter 1d6 skeletal warriors for each hero. So when you go in here, you encounter 1d6 skeletal warriors, which, you know, they're allies. They have 2 attack, 5 health, and it says once per turn action, attack, go again, which is very interesting. Which means I guess you can just attack and then they can all attack once, I assume. But you like attach it on like this, and then you eventually make like a dungeon, right? Out of this kind of stuff, which I think is super interesting, super cool. There's a lot of different things that's going on here. You can, you know, fight a bunch of different skeletons and get items. Like this one, you get a random potion per hero, 2 random potions, and 1 amulet for each hero. I love how they're incorporating things that already exist in the game. And then here we have an encounter with the mini boss. So let's get on to some of these other cards real quick, but you can kind of see how we go here. We have an encounter with the mini boss, another mini boss, the skeletal queen, and then the actual boss at the end of the dungeon. Once again, really cool. I love the flavor here. I'm not sure if there's any specific order into which you have to put these down. Maybe it's random, but I really like the idea here. I think there's a lot of space here with what they're given. Legend Story Studios could take this to the next step and have actual game boards, but having them as cards works well too. So I dig that. And here's some of the other ancillary cards. We have the actual boss here with his own deck. So the boss has his own deck with like his own cards and everything, but these are a little different. We'll talk about them. So here we have some new items like the Amulet of Hope, which looks really great. I don't know where they got all this art from, but I'm not familiar with the art. I don't recognize any of it, but it looks really good, and it really, really fits. So kudos to Crow for getting the art for this. Amulet of Hope, generic item amulet, instant banish Amulet of Hope. Target hero shuffles every card in their hand, graveyard, and banner zone into their deck, and they draw 2 cards. Very, very strong. But I think you want to have really overpowered cards because you're going to be fighting a really overpowered boss at the end of here. We also have Experimental Restoration. I also love how they made the cards like full art, you know, like extended borders. Looks really nice. This one is a potion. Instant, put a usage counter on Experimental Restoration. Set target hero to full health. That's great. If there are 2 or more counters on Experimental Restoration, destroy and deal 15 damage to each hero and ally. Oof. It says each ally. Is it each ally controlled by the player, or can you use this to blow up all the skeletons too? Potion of True Restoration. Instant, destroy it. Target hero shuffles every card they own into their deck and set their health to 20, which is pretty cool. Time Warp Potion. Action, destroy it. Take another turn after this one, gain an action point, go again. That's pretty good. And then here we have some mini bosses. We have the Hulking Abomination with star health and 42 life. This one is an ally. It's an undead ally. It says Hulking Abomination's attack is equal to the total number of cards in every banner zone. And at the start of the turn, each hero gets a soul shackle and then create a skull servant token. Once per turn action, 0 attack. And I think they mean skeleton servant because there's no skull servants in here. But here's a bunch of like skeleton servants, which are 1 attack, 3 health allies. That says at the start of the action phase, you may destroy an undead ally to gain 3 resources. Once per turn action, 0 attack. So yeah, there's the Hulking Abomination. We have some other like allies like the Mutated Flesh. Star, 8 health, that's a lot. its attack is equal to the greatest number of unique cards in every graveyard. Interesting. Once per turn action, 0 attack. It's like a Lurgoyf. It's a Goyf. So there's a bunch of these. There's like a walking corpse, 4/4. When it is attacked, the attacking hero loses 3 life unless I discard a card. That's pretty interesting. Kind of just stinky corpse. Savage corpse, 6/8. Holy crap! When a savage corpse attacks, intimidate. Ugh. Well, that's pretty brutal. So there's that. Here's the other mini boss, the Skeletal Queen, 0/20. The Skeletal Queen cannot be attacked while there is another undead ally in play. At the start of the turn, create 1 Skeletal Servant token. Once per turn action, 0, create 1d6 Skeletal Knights. Oof. Or 0 to deal 2 damage to each hero for every undead ally you control. Only 20 health, but it's pretty rough. Actually reminds me a little bit of one of the bosses from Icecrown Citadel in Wrath of the Lich King. This is the second boss, and you can't hurt her. You got to kill the mobs first, and then you can attack her. That's what it reminds me of. Here you have a Skeletal Knight. He's a 4/9. Whenever he deals damage, prevent the next 3 points of damage that would be dealt from a source that a hero controls. Once per turn action, 0 attack, go again. Got some knights. Oh, different art for the knights. It's kind of cool. And then we have the Skeleton Warriors. The Skeleton Warriors were 2/5s that can attack. Then the Servants are the ones that generate the resources. And I believe that's it. Oh, we also have some various ailments. So every hero attack has minus... What is this? It's hard to read. It's either -1 or -7 and costs an additional resource. Oof. It says challenge token. And we have Necrotic Touch. Whenever an undead ally deals damage, the defending hero loses a life. Challenge token. Maybe these are just things you can have that make it more difficult for you. Necro Nightmare. Whenever a dungeon card would roll a dice, instead consider the highest possible result. Whenever the third undead attack hits a turn, create a Necrotic Touch or Decay challenge. Woof. That's pretty brutal. And then here we have, to cap it off, we have this little thing from Techlocro. It says, thank you so much for checking out this unofficial PVE adventure for Flesh and Blood. I hope you enjoyed and keep having fun with it. This is the first chapter, and you can expect the next one to be released in the next few months. Please consider following me on Twitter to receive the occasional updates about the progress on the adventure. Yeah, if you like this, go follow Techlocro on Twitter. Every feedback is appreciated and will be considered to improve our journey in Wraith. Yeah, really good. I think this is super cool. I think it's really creative. There's like some, maybe some wording here and there. Maybe get like an editor or something to go through the cards and fix the wording on all these. But overall, I think it's super cool, and I love the effort, that was put into this. I personally have made some like assassin cards that you may have seen a long time ago. Old Red Zone Rogue viewers may know that, but I like the idea. I like the concept of like going through this. I don't know all the rules exactly. Like, do you heal between encounters? Probably not, because those are really powerful healing cards. But yeah, I think it's cool, and I really dig things like this. So, oh, we haven't checked out. Let's check out the wizard deck first before we cap this off, right? So we still have this wizard deck, right? We still have Aagaard of the Eternal Pact. We looked at him. We have the Necronomor, which is pretty interesting. It says you gain the knowledge of necromancy. Necronomor must block every attack if able. When it blocks, banish a top card of your deck. Once per turn, you may play a card from your banish zone as though it were an instant. Absurdly strong. And then we have the Shards of Ether, which is his weapon. It says, once per turn, instant for 2. If you played a wizard action this turn, banish a card from your graveyard. You may play it as an instant this turn and put an Aether counter on Shards of Aether. At the start of your turn, if there are 2 or more Aether counters on Shards of Aether, destroy it and it deals 12 damage to you. All right, well, you can do some really powerful stuff, but then it blows up and you take 12 damage. And then there's a bunch of wizard actions. All of them have this thing that says you can only play it if you have the knowledge of necromancy. And then it does some really powerful stuff. Like, there's a 6-drop. Every hero loses 1 intellect until the start of your turn, and then deal 5 damage to all of them. Woof. That's pretty good. Then there's like Animate the Dead, which is a 5-drop. There's a lot of blues in here, by the way. There's some reds, but there's a lot of blues in here. Play Animate the Dead only if you have knowledge of necromancy. Create a Skeletal Servant token for each undead ally token destroyed this turn. So you kind of get your dudes back if they die. We have Blight, which is a 2-drop. Target undead ally token deals 4 arcane damage, then destroy it. So it kind of like explodes. Same thing, deals 5 arcane damage. And then same thing, deals 3 arcane damage. Contagion. Until the end of the turn, whenever an undead ally deals damage, so like something like this, it should be deals damage to a hero, they lose 2, which is pretty good. Same thing, but they lose 3. And same thing, but they lose 1. And then Page of a Lost Tome. Really cool art in this one. If an undead ally token was destroyed this turn, search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. That seems pretty good. Go again. Let's go again. There's only 2 of them. That seems good. Raise the Dead. Gain 2 Skeletal Warrior tokens. Should be create 2 Skeletal Warrior tokens, but still really good. And create 2 Skeletal Knight tokens. Oh, okay. I dig that. I dig that. Went from Warrior to Knight. 3 of those, and then this is the Servant. Okay. Yeah. I see it. Speak to the Dead. If an undead ally token was destroyed this turn, draw 2 cards. Yo, that seems good. So, yeah, it's all about creating your skeletal army. He does have this, loadout here, but not a bunch of armor or anything. This is going to be cool. I kind of want to, like, test run this with one of my own decks just to see how it plays. I'm very curious if someone is supposed to be playing with all of the dungeon. It's PVE, but to be, how do I put this? I don't want to say to be true PVE, but if someone might still need to pilot this, which is how the World of Warcraft raid decks were. Someone still needed to play it. It can be tricky trying to make a deck that plays itself, though you could maybe somehow do that. But still, super interesting. I think it's really cool. Absolutely great effort. Please let me know what you think of this kind of stuff. If you really like what they're doing, go check out, like I said, Techlo Crow on Twitter. I think it's really, really cool. And I cannot wait for some like official Flesh and Blood PVE stuff. It is coming. It's coming, and it's gonna be awesome. And I know they want to have like these adventures and these campaigns, and I can't wait for it. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and help grow this channel and grow the communities for these games that we all love. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.